Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Night Race Chat. Clinton, Geoffrey, and Adam Ross here, as usual. Adam, great to be back. What a crazy week it's been. Like, we're still a long way from our season getting underway, but man, there's been so much action going on lately around here. Bristol this weekend, we've got an action-packed show, lots of guests. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. The weather's been good. There's an engine in Connor's race car, so we're making progress there. It's been a lot of fun. It's almost time to go. I'm feeling it. I haven't felt the bug, Clint, until this weekend. You know, when finally you could walk outside with a t-shirt on, like, okay, this feels like we could go racing. That was a long off season to cap off a really weird season in 2020. I'm ready to smell some fumes.
Now, and today it was gorgeous here in Ontario, in our neck of the woods. So you're definitely starting to feel it a bit more. Give a plug to the sponsor. Burger Barn's backing up Connor this year, so I want to make sure Jay and the guys, get their plugs. So how's that going?
The car is going to look phenomenal. So the first time I want this car to be seen will be in front of the Burger Barn. We'll get some pictures done up. But Steve Lyons designed something that looks phenomenal. It Jay was excited. Jay thought it looked pretty sick. So it's something new for Jay Hill as well from Burger Barn, because it's the first time he's gotten involved in motorsports that was not on dirt. So we're excited to be part of the Burger Barn team. Excited to show off this race car and get things started.
Both you and Steve are getting an ass kicking. You're holding out on me. Steve, I found out I got him to do a bunch of work for couple other guys, and he doesn't show me the finished product. I'm like, and I love to see these new designs. So I'm like, come on, man, send it over. So both of you need an ass kicking. Let's welcome our first guest. Speaking of ass kickings, who gave one yesterday, or Sunday on the Short Track Super Series system down at Port Royal. Matt Williamson is with us tonight. But Matty, welcome to the show, man. Good way for you to get the spring going for you. Talk about your weekend at Port Royal and Selins Grove.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a good weekend. We fortunately had two good draws for heat race starting positions, and that's something I'm not usually typically ready for when we go to the racetrack. But we had two good draws, and drew 8 in both features. The Saturday night at Selins Grove, it probably put us behind the 8 ball a little bit. Passing was a little hard to come by on Friday, but Port Royal, that place we started 8th and we were up to 2nd, I think about 10 laps in, and fortunately we got some good breaks in lap traffic and ended up in victory lane at the end of it.
Matt, even after the race, Stewart said he got a little bit impatient in lap traffic, and that allowed you to make a move. How does that work for a guy? I'm not knocking Stewart, but you're the one who should be rusty. You're the one that's been sitting out while other people have been doing a lot of racing, but you were in the right place at the right time. Like, how does that go down to where his patience runs short and it benefits you?
I didn't really plan on doing it like it turned out, but I showed Stu my nose, the lap previous, getting into one on the top, and just kind of rolled around him just enough to show him that we were there. And I think that he had the same mentality that I did when I tried to pass him in the lap cars at that time. It didn't look as slippery as it was out there, and when you get out there, it's like an ice rink. So fortunately, I was right there to capitalize, and then the caution come out, and we kind of got out of lap traffic, and it put us in some clean air, and we didn't have to deal with the tough stuff that he did.
Now let's talk about Port Royal surface. I mean, they did a ton of work to that facility in the past couple of years. What's the place like for us fans who've never got a chance to go down there? It looks like an absolute showpiece now.
It's beautiful. I mean, it was daytime racing on Sunday, which kind of took away from a little bit of the excitement. But I mean, it's probably my favorite place to go to nowadays. Showing Victory Lane right now, it's nice everywhere. The grandstands are nice. Victory Lane's nice. They got a tunnel that goes underneath the racetrack, concession stands, bathrooms, paved pit area. It's very similar to Oswego, and we're lucky enough to go there twice this year, and I'm looking forward to it. Even if it's in October, it's quite a ways away, but we'll try and do our best to get back to Victory Lane.
This didn't dawn on me, Matt, until you started talking about the importance of a draw and a redraw. So, short track super series, you draw for starting spot in your qualifying heat, finish in the top two, you get to redraw for starting spot in the feature, which is fine and good at a local race. But is there a better system, Maddie, considering you guys travel? Like, this is now a premier traveling series. You go to Florida, you go to Port Royal is no short drive. Would passing points make it more exciting? I mean, Brett Deo does a great job. He's a great promoter, but talk about the challenge of that redraw, especially on a racetrack, some of the tracks you go to that are hard to pass on.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We go all the way to Florida. Port Royal is not a close drive. It's not like driving down the street. And that's what we talked about kind of on the way home. The short track super series races are nice that we get to go to them, and we enjoy it when we do have good luck in the draw and fortunate, good runs. But there's a lot of times you don't hear about it. I mean, there's a lot of times you go to place like Thunder Mountain that you start 12th in a heat race and they're taking 2 to the redraw. That's you might as well load up. I mean, I've never been a fan of a draw. I don't have good luck. This weekend we did. I don't know why, but I like time trials. I mean, it shows your work in the shop. It shows how hard you work in the shop when you can unload in time. And through time trials, whether it's timed hot laps or a second set of time trials, it just pays you for working hard, and that's kind of what I prefer. But I mean, it's not about what we prefer. It's all about the fans.
Matt, how's the dynamic going with what's been quoted as the super team? You've got basically 3 different factions plus a few more guys mixed in there. Is that still gelling well? Obviously, you're still winning these races, but has there been any tough parts to that?
Not really. Very fortunate that everybody works together, and we've got very good chemistry. In late, we haven't been able to have my own crew over the border to work on the car, so it's been good because typically we'd have 7 or 8 guys in the pit area. And we always had a lot of help, but with the border closed, we went to Port Royal with kind of a skeleton crew for what it would be for us, and it was only 4 or 5 guys. So the super team's been good. Very, very fortunate that everybody gels well together, and nobody gets into arguments about taking cars to different races. And I'm lucky to have good car owners. Really, this is what it comes down to.
Winning races solves a lot of problems, Matt.
Yeah, that's what we said. A buddy of ours, mine and Spots, came to Florida, Joe Matthews, and come in the trailer. And it was actually last year when we ran good down in Florida. We won opening night, and we were arguing about setup or something amongst the crew. And we have a very funny way of letting ourselves or letting each other know, how much we like each other is a little bit of tough love. And he come in the trailer and he says, this is probably the most dysfunctional winning race team I've ever seen in my whole entire life. So we bust each other's balls, and we have fun. We have fun whether we're running 5th or whether we're winning or whether we're running 15th. So it's a pretty cool deal to be a part of.
Matt, Bristol is obviously on the horizon. Big week this week as everybody gets pumped up. Your confidence is high off a big race. With Bristol on the horizon, how cool is it for you to be peaking at the right time with your shot to go into Bristol as one of the top dogs and get this one done?
Yeah, that place is going to be very interesting, I think. I don't think it's going to be like something we've ever seen before. But after Sealands Grove on Saturday night there, we went back to the hotel and watched the late model race from Bristol. We took a notepad out, and me, Spot, and Johnny Coco kind of sat there and talked a little bit about spring setups, a little bit about tires, and we kind of put some preliminary notes together. So it's like I said, though, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be like a mix between Lebanon Valley and Volusia, I think, but we'll see how it goes.
Talk about racetracks that require a lot of nerve, Matt, to race on. So for one, it's a brand new place, and for two, you got to have some intestines to make a car go around that place fast. Who do you think that lends itself best to? I know you're there to win, but is there anyone you can pick out in the dirt modified world to say, okay, this might be the person who's going to set the pace, or this might be the person who's going to have the rear bumper tinking off the outside wall first?
And that's the thing. There's going to be a lot of cars that will be hitting the fence and riding the wall and probably putting on a show. But at the end of the day, we got to make these things last 40 laps, and it's 10 grand to win for 40 laps. That's a pretty good paying race. So I can't really pick somebody out, but I think that we'll all be surprised with how many cars actually don't finish the race. It's going to be one of them places that you got to go really well prepared to. You can't show up with used. You can't show up with used drive shaft, used axles. You gotta really prepare for this one, and I think that's what's going to set apart, the good teams and the bad teams. The preparedness and how much they're willing to work on their stuff before they go and make sure that they can make 40 laps one night and 40 laps the next. That's gonna set the men and the boys apart.
Matt, it's funny you say that because it sounds almost similar to Syracuse. That was the plan. Go with new, good stuff, no junk. And if you've watched Bristol, Travis Cunningham actually commented this week, said Bristol is eating cars up like the Moody Mile has in the past. There was no small wrecks there. Have you given any thought to that? And, are you putting anything different on your car other than just good, solid new stuff?
We're actually going to bring the car that we had in Florida. We won Oswego 2 years ago with it. It's been a good car. We're just, Spot's going to go through it. We're actually going to race Albany Saratoga on the Friday before we go to Bristol. So it'll give me and him a few days to work together on it. Ernie will be back at the shop by then. So it'll be gone through with a fine tooth comb. But yeah, we're already thinking aerodynamically like we would have at the mile. I'm going to go to work tomorrow and build a few panels that we've talked about over the weekend, and just make sure that the thing does 40 laps. At the end of the day, it's going to be grueling, and I think that's what we're not known to be a wall rider or hammer the cushion, drive up over it. I'll just put the bottom for 40 and race for the last 10 and see where we can end up.
Talk about, let's go back. I know we're jumping topics a little bit. Let's go back to Port Royal, where you're in a battle with Stuart Freeze, and you're two of the best in the game right now. Mike Mahaney shows his nose. How hard is it to mount a challenge for a win when you've got another driver right there that any mistake, your battle for the lead is now a battle for second? Like, is it a different dynamic when there's three drivers in the mix?
What's funny about like that race at Port Royal is Brett Deo's got a really, really well done purse for second through like eighth. The money really from second to I think third is probably a difference of $300 to $400, if that. Whereas first to second is $2,000 or $3,000. So at that point, you're just putting it all on the line and trying to get by the guy in front of you. And if you lose a couple spots, especially in the rubber, if you lose a couple spots trying to go for a win, it is what it is. We're not points racing on that deal. So we were just in it to win it. I mean, I was fortunate. I got back to the bottom before Mike did. And then some lap cars slipped up out of the way and it put us in a position to win.
Matt, don't mean to jump around a bit more, but I got one more for you. We appreciate your time, and then we'll let you go. But, you mentioned points racing. Where can fans see you race? And, what's your take on what's going on here in the Niagara region with Humberstone getting back on with 358s? Are we going to see you on Sundays along with Saturdays? Can you run for points at both those places? And what tour are you going to concentrate on this year?
We're really only going to focus on points at Ransomville and the Super Dirt Series. We're actually going to go, the schedule over the next few weeks is going to be Orange County on April 2nd. The following week, we're going to go to Can-Am for the Super Dirt Series race. The week after that, we're going to race Albany, Saratoga, and then we head to Bristol. When we come back from Bristol, we're going to be at Ranceville on a Friday for their test and tune. And then we're going to be at Lebanon Valley actually on the Saturday. And then the following week we'll be back to Merrittville. So we're going to take ourselves right out of the points at Merrittville by going to Bristol. So that's kind of get put in a back burner, and we're going to be at Humberstone every Sunday that we can. I think that we actually can hit every race at Humberstone, but not sure how the points are gonna pay out. But it's funny. We focus on points too much. I think almost around here. You can go to a race 3 hours away on a Saturday night and make what it pays to win the points at Merrittville 3 times over. So we've kind of got away from worrying about the points on Saturday nights recently, and I think it's paid off and made me a better driver to travel around a little bit.
All right, Matt, I want to corner you with this question because this has gone through my mind for years and years. Why does anyone race weekly? With all the money shows that there are out there, why does anybody run? It doesn't pick the track. Albany, Saratoga, Merrittville, Land of Legends. For what do those races pay to win on a weekly show? And the fallback is so hard. Why would you not be more like a sprint car racer or a late model racer and just chase the money?
Exactly. I mean, that's tend to be what we're trying to do. The funny story is Terry Vince actually reached out to me, the promoter of Humberstone, in the middle of winter and had mentioned that South Buxton wanted to do a pretty big, or Southern Ontario Motor Speedway wanted to do a pretty big race and wanted to do it in September. And they were going to pay $5,000 to win for a modified race, which around here, that's a pretty well-paying modified race. We don't get too many big modified races this side of Brockville during the year. Brockville does their big fall nationals race. Cornwall does big races. Quebec does big races. But the deal around here has been stale for a little bit. We race at Merrittville for 1,500 and we say, ooh, it's a big race. So Terry reached out about Southern Ontario Motor Speedway doing something and wanted to do it for $5,000. And Merrittville had given us a Saturday night off. And I said to Terry that would be a great opportunity for them to do a race. It wouldn't be stepping on Oshwegan's toes on Friday, and it wouldn't be going against Humberstone on a Sunday. It's a Saturday night that modifieds don't race. And the next thing that I heard was that Merrittville wanted to make it a points race and make sure that everybody stayed at Merrittville so that they didn't take any of the Merrittville cars, which I don't know why anybody would ever want to do that. But you look at that scenario in itself. Even if Southern Ontario Motor Speedway had that race paid $5,000 to win. And I think the points at Merrittville the last time we won was $2,200, $2,300. So that in itself, that's one night. You go to that race one night, you win that one race. That pays for 2 points championships, and you get another notch on your belt. At the end of the day, nobody really remembers who wins points championship unless it's a really big deal, or NASCAR or something like that. Nobody really remembers it. So I think that when you realize that racing for money instead of chasing points, when you realize that that's what you want to do, I think it makes you a better driver and you actually have more fun in racing.
And I'm not knocking weekly racing by any stretch. Right, I love home track racing.
No, me neither.
It just seems to me, once you get to the point where you're at right now, Matt, you can go and race for that money, right? There was a long time while you were learning, you're finishing 10th or you're hoping to qualify for these shows. Once you become that elite, I think it's an opportunity. And Clint, tell me if I'm way off base, but I think that's an opportunity to make Sportsman or some kind of a spec motor car your weekly showcase, and leave the modifieds, even 358 modifieds, to the traveling stuff, to going out to chase the money shows. Am I crazy there, Clint?
No, I think you're opening up a whole nother huge discussion that we can have. But that's a great topic for next week. Maybe we can go over that and talk about what could happen with those types of divisions. I mean, you look at Oshwegan, we start the crate division, and everybody thought the 360s were going to become that, a tour only, and it's been exactly the opposite. The crates have made the 360 stronger just by volume of people coming in. And with guys like Matt or Dylan Westbrook taking off from their discipline to chase those money races, it's just a natural evolution, you know. Maddie, it's been great talking to you. We really appreciate your time. You know, a few years ago at Dirt Week, you talked about what we talked about years ago. So I want you to just, as you're sitting in the lineup at Bristol, envision yourself rolling up onto that rooftop victory lane. See yourself doing it, buddy, and go get it done for us. And then come back and talk to us on the following Tuesday and let us know you made it happen. Okay, man?
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it.
Most
Yeah,
of all,
good
stay
show.
safe,
Good
buddy.
show yesterday, Matt.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Matt Williamson. Wow, Adam, it's funny that we've seen Matt grow up literally. You know what I mean? Like when I met him, he was probably 8 or 9 years old. We watched his first races. We probably called some of his first sportsman races. And then to see him be where he is today, it's been amazing. Another kid that we've seen grow up is Dale Shaw, Adam on the pavement side. And Dale has joined us here from the APC world. You would have seen him last year on GeForce TV with our broadcast of the APC Late Model Series, and we're going to be back again this year. We welcome Dale Shaw to the program. Dale, welcome to the show tonight.
Oh, there we go. I've never done this before. How's it going?
Good.
Good, man. Good. How are you?
Good. Really good.
So what do we want to talk about first? APC late model racing or super late model I racing? We'll leave it up to you, Dale.
You guys pick. It's super late model season right now, so I guess we go with the iRacing first.
Yeah, let's close that off. You were walking away with the points championship, Dale, and then you don't qualify a couple of weeks ago for the race. So now going into the last race of the year, you've got a 17-point deficit behind Joe Lawrence. What tricks have you got up your sleeve for tonight's race?
It's been about survival with this season, to be honest with you. I don't get a lot of time to get on the sim, especially now being a dad and working full time and building race cars and stuff like that. But we just do this for fun. And, there's a good group of guys up there racing with us, and we've had a lot of fun. And I guess fun is the key word, to be honest with you. I just want to have fun. That's all I'm doing it for.
Dale, you seem to be one of the guys who enjoys, whether you're doing it outdoor for real or on iRacing in the sim, seem to have a pretty level head. We've seen things get crazy even in iRacing. Are we building enemies here that you're going to be carrying into the season? And I don't necessarily mean you, but, anybody who's gotten into it in iRacing, are you carrying that emotion and that pissed offedness to the next outdoor race when you see that guy in front of you, like, man, you caused me the points in iRacing. Here's my chance to get you back. Or can you separate that and speak not only from your perspective, but from the general racer's perspective?
Gosh, that's a very complicated question. I would like to say I've never wrecked a guy on purpose in my life. Like, I was just the way I was brought up, where you got to fix your own stuff. Don't go out and wreck somebody and be stupid. In terms of the iRacing world, going over to the real world, I've met so many friends through iRacing, guys that I've ended up, like, that's how I met Ryan Beagle. We traveled around with Ryan Beagle for a couple of years, and I met Clint Nichols through iRacing, and now play around with this street stock every once in a while over the phone and stuff. But we do this for fun, and it's a hobby, and you get upset. There are tempers and stuff on the sim, but no, I would never let it boil over to real life for sure.
So there'll be no paybacks at Sunset Speedway for something that might have happened at New Smyrna Speedway.
No, the real cars are a lot more expensive than the sim cars. I'll tell you that for free.
Adam, can I jump here and ask another question?
Yeah.
I just want to deal. So in the Winter Meltdown presented by Caldecott Millwrights, London Recreational Racing, and Grisdale Racing Products that we have coming up here again, the point system is low points. So that means if you finish first, you get 1 point. If you finish 10th, you get 10 points. For us announcers and fans, it's super easy to follow instead of 85 for a win or whatever it ends up being. Is this a system you like? Is it fair? Should we be using this in real racing? What's your thoughts on the kind of golf score point system?
I mean, I'm not much of a golfer. I tried golf when I was younger, and I wasn't very good at it. But it doesn't really matter to me. I like the simplicity of it. I don't like the whole laps led or the qualifying points or None of that kind of stuff. I like going out there and the guy who wins gets either the most or the least points, and the guy who finishes last gets the most or the least points. None of this bonus point stuff. So I don't really have an opinion, to be honest with you, on the golf score versus the max points, but I hate bonus points. Like, I know on the APC tour, last time I checked, and I gotten so frustrated. I haven't looked in a couple of years. We used to get like 5 bonus points for qualifying, and it made qualifying almost more important than the race because of the point differential they handed out. So, but I do like the simplicity of the golf scoring, though. I can see why people would want
it. We did it because we're not very smart, Dale, and it allows us to really understand. Well, and tomorrow night's a perfect example. Tonight, Joe Lawrence leading, Gareth Gonder is 4 points behind. So It's 4 positions. So I can tell you right off the bat, if Joe Lawrence finishes 4th or better, he wins the title. There's no calculations need to be done. If he finishes 5th and Gareth Gonder wins, Gareth wins the title. If all hell breaks loose and Dale Shaw wins, depending where the others wind up, Dale Shaw wins.
Well, I can tell you a story. So I won the APC championship in 2015, 16. I have to find a picture. But anyways, so going into that,
15.
And we'll go with 15. I'm getting old. I can't remember what year it is anymore. But going into that night, Sean Chenoweth and I believe I was 1 point ahead of him where we were tied going into it. But I went out and got the pole, set track record, and that got me 5 bonus points. And I ended up finishing 5 positions behind him or 4 positions behind him, which would have gave him the championship. But because of my pole, I won it by 1 point. And even though I won a championship because of bonus points, it still drives me nuts.
Dale, let's switch gears to the outdoor season. What's your plans coming up with the APC series? We saw some action last year. For us guys who got to cover it, we thought the racing was amazing. I know Adam and myself and our whole G-Force crew are super pumped to get back out with the APC Late Model Series. What are your thoughts, and where are we going to see you this year?
Man, we got to get our families back to the racetrack. That's the biggest thing. Like, racing is great and all, but racing is a family thing. Like, I wouldn't be doing it without my family. I love racing. It's my life and all, but I really miss having my grandparents at the racetrack. And my daughter, who's now almost a year and a half old, and she's been to 1 race so far because of the regulations last year. So that's my biggest kind of pet peeve, but we're all doing the best we can. But no, I'm really looking forward to this year. 2021, I guess we're in now. We're working really hard at Shaw Motorsports right now. We're putting a brand new race car together, and I feel like this is the best equipment I've ever been in. We've really done a lot of research this winter. We've taken our time putting this car together, and we've learned a lot in the last 3-4 years. I've kind of grown into being into the role of the setup, giving better feedback as a driver. Like, if you go back into the early 2010s, I could tell you loose and tight, but I couldn't tell you what I wanted to do to make it better. And I feel like I've gotten better as a driver of that. And I've worked with a lot of drivers, and I've learned a lot, even through, like I say, working with the dirt street stocks, TQ midgets, you name it. I've kind of played, I've dabbled in everything. So I feel like coming into this year, I think this is my best shot I've had since probably 2015.
Now, Dale, you guys build race cars not only for yourself, but for clients.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? What kind of satisfaction do you get? We all know racers want to win. A race car driver wants to hold the checkered flag high, celebrate a win. What's the satisfaction like of seeing one of your drivers succeed and knowing that your brain power went into that race car?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very weird feeling because a couple stories that come to the top of my head. When we went to Frostfest at the end of this year at Flamborough, we had our Shaw Motorsports Superstock 27 car was at my house till 1 a.m. Friday night getting it ready. And he got to the racetrack and that thing was bad fast. And through luck of the draw and everything, he ended up winning that race. And in my opinion, that was my favorite race of the year. I haven't won a lot in the last couple of years just because of, not being financially able to do what I wanted to do, which is a whole nother story. But watching cars that you work your tail off on and win races might be more rewarding than winning them yourself. It's almost like your brain won the race instead of your feet and your hands. So it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy watching our customers run good.
Dale, can you tell us who you're working with, or has anybody picked up the deal for you guys this year on the rental side of things, or where does that stand?
It's so we've got a couple races planned. I don't like coming out and telling anybody who is going to be driving what, because it's their opportunity. They can go out and tell. But I know we've got a couple races signed so far. A lot of things are up in the air. Like, nobody knows when we're going to be racing. Like, I know the APC Tour come out with their update the other day and said, we want to be racing. We're committed to racing, but we just don't know what the rules are going to be, right? And it's tough. And I know the fans, they look at it that they can't be at the racetrack, and it sucks, but you got to look at it the racer standpoint. We raced for 50% payout last year. And just to put that into perspective, tires and fuel for a race cost more than what it was to win a race last year. So for a section of the field, that's really tough. Like, that's why I couldn't run the whole year last year, just because of the financial aspect. So, but in terms of the rental thing, I know we've got a couple races so far confirmed. They're working on some more stuff. We're actually putting a third car together right now. The Jukasa stuff, it's crazy right now. Like, everybody wants to run Jukasa. It's a beautiful racetrack, clean racing, a lot of fun. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a big year for us, but we're really, really concentrating on my car and my aspect of racing, because I want to get back up to where I was a couple years ago,
Speaking of racing a couple of years ago, Dale, and I have never asked this, and I don't know. Why did your dad stop racing? And will we ever see him back in a race car, or are those days just gone?
Well, yeah. To be honest, it got to the point where financially, him and I, we couldn't do what we wanted to do with both of us racing at the same time. It was tough. There was a lot of other things in the background, a lot of stuff that, family stuff, that kind of thing. You guys know what that's like. But it kind of got to the point where my dad started to enjoy more working on race cars than he did driving them. Like, if my dad had his way, he'd spend 24 hours in the shop. He'd live there. My daughter, funny story. So my daughter calls my dad beautiful instead of grandpa. And so when we go out to my backyard and she sees the garage, she points at it and says, "That's Beautiful's house," because my dad's a shop guy. He doesn't leave the garage. That's all he does. He loves working on race cars. So he told me one time that he actually gets more enjoyment out of watching me run good than he ever did winning races. So it kind of came to the point, and that's pretty much why.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because your dad stepped away at the top of his game.
Yeah.
Right. He and like you say, things happen, but it always creates an amazing story when it's something special to walk away a winner, because most people don't do that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'll never forget my last race. We ran autumn colors against my dad, and that was the first race I can ever remember passing my dad. Like, you just didn't do that. Like, he was the man at Flamborough Speedway. He could get around there like crazy. I'm terrible there, but my dad could go there, close his eyes, and go faster than me. So, no, I think I give him credit, because it was tough. Like, I actually, 2014, 2015, we were there testing on a Tuesday. Actually, my dad actually got in the car, and he got back in the car, and that's one of the only times I can remember getting back in the car since then. And he kind of said, "Yeah, it's fun and all, but we got to keep doing what we're doing, because we want to win. That's what we want to do as a team," and that was the best thing for us. So no, his eyes aren't as good as they used to be, and he had some kind of health issues the last couple of years. So, but every time I've ever asked, I've told him many times. I said, "You start driving again. Like, I'm cool. Like, I love spotting. I love crewing. I love working on race cars and stuff." I said, "You go at it." And he says, "No, I love what I'm doing." So that's about it.
Awesome, Dale. We wish you all the best this summer. We'll be following your series as we're out there live on G-Force for all 10 races as well. So thanks so much for being with us, man. And we appreciate your participating in Winter Meltdown, and stay safe. We'll see you at the track.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully we'll talk on some Tuesdays during the regular racing year too.
For sure. No, Dale's just one of those guys, Adam, that you want to cheer for. The families worked their way up. They did it the hard way, and they're just that classy class act. You know, it's what I've been preaching for a long time. You know, you and I had this talk yesterday about some races in the NASCAR world, and do they deserve their shot? Do they not? Are they classy? I think we both agreed last night. We need more class acts like Ryan Blaney, you know, winning the race yesterday. A couple things that came to mind for me: no burnouts, no wrecking equipment, a nice, you know, victory lap, gets out, gives the flag to a fan with a Ryan Blaney. Classy interview. I mean, our sport needs more guys like that. Well,
I've never been a fan. I've never been a fan of burnouts.
I
I find them. No, Ryan Blaney's fantastic. The burnout. What are you doing? We've seen it. We've done it. Roll your car over a couple of times, take it to victory lane. Haven't seen that. Although Glenn Stiers did it once. But you know what I mean? Like the idea of that Carl Edwards backflip. Austin Dillon. I'm not a fan, but his belly flop into the grass is, you know, it's unique. So I'm all for it.
All right, let's bring on another great supporter and a mentor of ours over the years, Tony Spiteri from Pinty's and Ole Mill Foods. Tony, thanks for being with us here. A big, exciting week for you, sir, as the Pinty's truck race at Bristol kicks off in Tennessee. I know your heart is ripping out because you would so like to be down there with some Bristol moonshine and having a good week with all your friends. And let's talk about it, Tony. How bad is it for you to be stuck at home this week, man?
Yeah, it's right up there. But with everything else going on, listen, it's a small price to pay for the greater good. And I think good things are upon us for 2021 if we can weather the storm just a few more months. So yeah, it's a little price to pay. Is it bothering me? Yeah, it's bothering me. But I did bring a little bit of moonshine up here to Boucherville, Quebec, and I plan on having at least one or two sips and some new cups over the Saturday. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
And Tony, we know you're a huge race fan and you're a huge supporter. I want to go off the beaten path a little bit. Are we selling delicious foods these days? Like, is this because everyone thanks you for your support, but once in a while I get to hear the Tony version of how your marketing brain works and the result of your projects.
It's a scary place to be, my brain, isn't it, Adam? We don't want to talk about that tonight, do we? But no,
anytime.
It's weird, right? So like people thank us for our support, but really it's the other way around. You know, we're thanking the fans for their support. NASCAR fans, racing fans in general in Canada are amongst the most loyal brand supporters there are. So it's a business for us. I mean, I'd love to give you the altruistic, yeah, we do it, rah, 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 because we love it. And we do. But for Pinty's and now obviously with the new ownership group, Ole Mill, it's about business, and it's a great way to reach our target audience. And that's why we do it. I say that to a lot of people. The fact that we actually enjoy being there, well, that's a whole other ball of wax, I guess.
Tony, let's talk business and the new parent company for a moment. When Ole Mill took ownership of Pinty's, a lot of people in the industry who are well supported by Pinty's, us included, wondered where that was going to leave us in the motorsports and the other sports you guys support. Give us a brief synopsis on how Ole Mill has been allowing you to continue down the path you've been and actually encouraging it.
Clinton, I think probably the biggest vote for us is, we were acquired 2 years ago as the Pinty's organization. Myself personally, I was asked to join the executive ranks of the new company. So in essence, I guess they voted with their pocketbooks and have said, look, can we do a little bit more of the same stuff? It's not just about sponsorship. It's about food marketing. We're amongst the largest food processors in Canada. There's about 16,000 employees, Clinton, across the country. And everywhere I go, everywhere I meet new people, and it's obviously through COVID, it's been a little more short-lived in terms of traveling, but through our meetings, whether they be Zoom calls or Microsoft Teams meetings, invariably things like the NFL, the NHL, NASCAR, and curling come up in discussion. So I guess what I would say to you is very supportive, very pro-business. We're a 100% Canadian-owned company. I think about 11,700, if I'm not mistaken, farmer shareholders are involved in the overall company, which is called Solio Agricultural. So very supportive of grassroots. Chaudier, Quebec, a track I know you guys love as much as I do. I think the bacon, it's called the Bacon Bowl, Adam. Is that what we call it? I think. That race is
Tony. There is one specific thing that pops into my mind every time. I love Chaudier. Clint, yep. I love that racetrack. Do not get me wrong. Green walls, it's unique. It's a fishbowl. I saw a car crash into a tree, and the driver climbed out because there is a mountain with trees off the end of 1 and 2. But that is still not what sticks out. You have to go. Yeah. You have to go. Maybe one of these weeks we'll share a picture. I believe this picture was in Tony's office at one point. It was a marketing executive's dream. And Clint, I know we shouldn't deal in inside jokes, but I promise you, we will share the photograph that I sent to Tony, because I don't even know if Tony had seen this yet. And it raised his eyebrows. He enjoyed it.
It was unique. It was unique. But listen, talking about Chaudier and maybe segueing a little bit here, Clinton. But my last trip there, I got to watch this young guy from the area come out and put a bit of a clinic on it. Yeah, I think he's racing in the Pinty's race this Saturday, right? Raphael Lessard.
Tony, let's talk about Bristol and your involvement there. Now, I got to go down there 2 seasons ago in 2019 and hang out with you guys. You know, I knew Pinty's was involved. I knew you had a suite there. I knew you're involved with the management, but I was absolutely shocked at the presence Pinty's had inside Bristol. It's not one concession booth. Pinty's is spread out all over that place. Talk about your move in and into the partnership with Food City. And for our viewers, the story about how you got involved with Bristol and in the Food City folks is an interesting story in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it all started with an invitation, and our former CEO back in the old Pinty's days, his dream was to go to Daytona one day. So I joined him, and nothing wrong with Daytona. I enjoy the atmosphere, but I'm not a big track fan. I'd rather go to a short track or a dirt track. And on the way back from that trip, Randy said to me, he said, like, if you had to go anywhere, where would you go? And I said, someday I'll take a drive up to Tennessee and head to Bristol. And the craziest long story short is a pen showed up in my office from Bruton Smith, Marcus Smith, Jerry Caldwell, and Jonathan Thomas just after our announcement in 2012 of taking on the NASCAR Pinty Series. And they invited us down to see a race. And unbeknownst to me, Randy had organized for us to go down there and see it, just as fans. And the strangest thing happened. My screensaver is one of the cars that my bride and I have restored, and it was a replica of a 3-car, and it had Food City logos on it. And the guy sitting next to me in one of these meeting rooms, driver's meeting for the Cup race, was asking me about my screensaver. And unbeknownst to me, it was Steve Smith, the owner of Food City. And they announced us, as you guys know, in the drivers' meetings, they'll announce you kind of alphabetical order. And Steve Smith, they announced, I didn't know who he was. And he gets up and he says, I'll talk to you in a minute. I'm like, that was cool. He's asking me about why I have a Food City logo on my car, and he owns the company. So they announced me, and I go back up and sit with him, and I giggle next to him and say, well, that was kind of interesting. That was smooth. He goes, hey, look, why don't you guys sell us anything? How come we don't see any of your product in our stores? Again, really long story, but from a pen to a screensaver to sitting next to the owner of Food City, and I would say 3 or 4 months later, our products were in 138 stores in the United States. So it's just the strangest story. I can give you all the business behind it. It's not an easy business, obviously, crossing the borders with fresh product, et cetera, et cetera. But it's been an interesting test for us. Let's just say the support we get from that group is outstanding, and the learning that we've had in terms of selling our products in the United States have been very colorful. But the true story, Clinton, it started with the former CEO wanting to take me to a racetrack that he thought I would enjoy, and the rest of it's kind of history.
Awesome.
One thing I think is really cool, Tony, and I might be just off base here, but we're going to be able to watch practice this week from Bristol on TSN.
Yeah.
Who made that happen? How did that go? I love that sort of thing. Like, there's things, but I'm quirky. I like single car qualifying for reasons we'll get into another week. I like watching practice. It'd be like watching batting practice at a Blue Jays game. I like watching that as well. How did this happen?
A lot of like-minded people, I guess, and I guess people that just didn't want to take no for an answer. So, Adam, I've heard for the other side of 10 years, how come we can't watch truck races? And it's not for lack of Pinty's trying. It's just been the powers to be haven't, or let's just say the stars haven't aligned. In this particular instance, we've been doing some really good work with, as you guys know, with Oshwegan. We've been able to land a dirt race there in the NASCAR Pinty Series. That raised a lot of eyebrows inside of the NASCAR office. The next thing, next domino goes, and the next domino goes, and the next thing you know, because of the relationship we have with the Bristol team, they and the fact that we supported them last year through COVID, they gave us the entitlement race, the truck race, which I thought was you guys were just talking about Blaney and being a class act. Well, Jerry Caldwell, Jonathan Thomas, Chip Evans at Bristol are exactly that, class acts. They did that because they knew we had a couple of horses in the race, which I thought again was a very classy move. And then we just started to put pieces together and lobby the right folks. We have to thank the guys at NASCAR in Daytona, as well as the Fox Broadcasting Group. They've allowed us to have the rights to that race for the Canadian marketplace. And with the group at TSN, it's been a tough year for them for a whole bunch of reasons. But we had some folks that kind of listened, I guess, and heard our plight. The best thing that we can do, Adam and Clinton, is promote that race and prove to the powers to be that there is a viewing audience. We're up against March Madness in basketball, so I have a firm belief that there's going to be a lot of folks that want to watch that race in Canada, and if the numbers prove out, well, who knows what'll happen post, but. I hate to give you a long-winded answer, Adam. It's just a lot of people had to fall in line to make that happen.
Just to be clear, what we're talking about is the race on Saturday, the Pinty's truck race on dirt from Bristol will be live coast to coast on TSN for the first time, which is an amazing job by everybody to get together. Tony, we got to move on here, but just quickly, I want to thank you so much for jumping on board on the dirt side of things. I know that's a recent jump in for you. You've been involved at Oshwegan, but to be able to take both the crates and the 360s across the prows with Pinty's support and putting them on G-Force is a major thing for the sprint car world. And, everybody wants to thank you for that. Anything you want to mention about that before we let you go?
Dude, we're just jacked up about it. I mean, getting everybody together the way you guys have and organizing it, especially coming through a pandemic. Clinton, one of our favorite quotes, never waste a good crisis. And I think kudos to everybody involved. We've taken something that was kind of a not such a great situation, and I think what's going to come out of it is a way stronger presence on dirt. I think long term, let's work harder to get even more coverage of the sport at the grassroots level, and let's build a ladder so everybody can have some fun with all the different series. But kudos, we're jacked up about it. Can't wait to see what that starts to look like.
Appreciate your time.
Well said, Tony. Yeah, thanks so much.
Take care, guys. Have a great night, and thanks to everybody for your support. We really appreciate it.
Don't worry, both of us will be jaw-jacking you all Saturday night on text. So have a good night, and we'll talk at you soon.
Take care, boys.
Adam, so much great stuff has come since our relationship with Tony, and we appreciate everything he does. Blake Outhouse has been waiting patiently on the line as well, and this has been a neat show for us. We had a lot of guests come in. We have a ton of topics, and how cool is it that we have a backlog of things to talk about? We're gonna need to do a 3-hour purge one of these weeks just to get all of these stuff off our chest. But we've had some great guests, some timely and key guests, but so much more we still have to talk about. So we want to thank all our sponsors. Don't forget, we do have our Burger Barn video of the week all the time. We may not get to it, but Blake may have to be our Burger Barn video of the week. So we welcome Blake Outhouse. And it's funny, the last time I actually saw Blake face to face, I think we were at the Burger Barn last fall. You were there, Adam. We were meeting with Roger Craig.
That's right.
Blake, sorry for it took so long. We had some great guests on. We want to make sure you got on here with us tonight as well. We got about 5 minutes left. Quickly, let's talk about the reason you're timely is you sent me a whole bunch of great pictures today about Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. So Spencer, roll those photos if you can. New grandstands going up, new lighting, new concessions. The track looks amazing, Blake. You must be pumped. I was pumped up about Southern Ontario Motor Speedway just by seeing the pictures you sent.
We're stoked. I wasn't really going to put a lot of pictures up because it's not finished yet. And you know how that can go when people see things that aren't finished. But Henry looked at me today and he said, you know, you've been taking pictures all along. He says, why don't we tell people what's going on? And I said, I don't know. I guess we can. We just don't need any negative feedback right now. But he says, no, come on. Let's show the world what we're doing down here. So I sent them off to you and you give me a text and here we are. It's great. I mean, talk about pumped and stoked. Seeing it on paper and now seeing it rise out of the ground is spectacular.
Blake, the one thing that every promoter has to sell is the sizzle. Once you get people into your facility, you show them what you're about. But I want to tell you the kind of buzz that you've created. I was down at McCall's a couple of weeks ago. McCall Racing in London. Nothing to do with dirt. These are asphalt racers. These are late model racers. These are people who I think more and more we're seeing some crossover. But we were chatting with a group from Southwestern Ontario. They were there to pick up parts. And they said, yeah, we're going to stop by South Buxton. We really want to have a look at this new racetrack. We hear great things about it. That excites me. When you see people, like if you want to preach to the choir, your dirt people in that neighborhood, they're going to be there no matter what. But when you can get people who are asphalt folks intrigued about your product enough that they want to go look at it, even when it's covered in snow, that's got to make you feel really good, because I've heard a lot of that. A lot of people really looking forward to what that track is going to produce.
Actually, it's been super positive. It's unbelievable. The minute that the steel started to go up for the grandstands, if I charged $1 for every car that's driven by the road by now, we'd probably have half of the track paid for. But I mean, it's been really, really great. The people, it's hard to explain the feedback that we're getting, and it is terrific from the drivers. Like, we've got drivers out helping every week. Fans are coming out asking if they can help. It's just an unbelievable feeling to what's going on down here.
Like, let's talk about the culture that was South Buxton, and now you're trying to change that into Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. I mean, it was a tough, gritty place to manage. It was a tough, gritty place to race. I really feel from the outside that this new pure oval surface, getting away from the triangle front straightaway, the new fencing, the new walls, I think you guys are setting up for a whole culture shock change here. And you gotta roll with this positivity. You know, how can you guys make sure that ball keeps rolling for you?
We just got to keep moving forward the way we are and being positive. And when people are sitting at the road or they're driving by, we wave them in and say, come on, have a look. We'll walk you around the track. Come on, see what's going on at the concession. We're just doing everything in our power to keep everybody pumped. We've talked to the drivers. The drivers are passing on well. Social media is starting to light up. It's just, I don't know how to really explain it. It's just an unbelievable event that's going on, and it's taken off like wildfire, and we're going to keep it going that way. We really, really are.
When are you going to see cars on the track this spring? I know you ran some test sessions last year, but how soon will it be ready for race cars?
We're not going to put anything on the track. We did a bunch of renovations to the track last year. I shouldn't say renovations. We moved some dirt and we put some clay back on the track, turned it all over really, really well, let it sit all winter. We turned the track back over 3 weeks ago, tilled it in, and it's setting in great. We're hoping for a little rain. We're really not going to see cars at them probably until end of April is what we'd like to see. We got a lot of work to do. I mean, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So right now, we know the track's pretty decent. The priority is let's get opened up.
You know, Blake, with all this action, all the racers, you've got, like, just like in Niagara, you've got generations of racers who grew up there, fathers, grandparents. It's not going to be any different. Grandpa can't give Junior any more advice because the track is totally different. I think you're going to have a whole new style of racing at Buxton, at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, formerly Buxton. Let's talk about that, you know, how things are going to be different all the way around when the cars get due back to the track, not just because there's new grandstand and new concessions. It's a whole new place.
It is. It's a whole new ballpark. I mean, and that's a huge thing that's going on. Every time that we get together on a Saturday for working, and like you say, generations show up at the racetrack, and some of them, the fathers, the sons, you know, they're all there, and they're going, "What are we going to do now?" And they're saying the same thing, like, "What are we going to do? Do we need more motor? We need this. We need that." It's creating quite a buzz. To hear some of the comments, it's very, very interesting. It's you got to be there on a Saturday to hear the father-son combos, because the dad raced there for years, and now the son's doing it, and now they're both got their arms in the air, like, where do we go from here? It's comical, but it's really cool.
What are you most excited for when we get to the end of 2021? When we're sitting here having this conversation in November, what do you expect to look back on? What's the moment that you're going to take a deep breath and say, okay, we did it?
I'm not sure I've even thought about that, Adam. I'm really not. There's so many things to look forward to. Oh my God, you know, that's a very good question. I don't think I can even answer that right now. There's just so many things going on. I haven't really even looked at the future. We're looking at, wow, very good question. Sorry, I can't answer that one for you tonight.
Sorry about that. That was not
good.
my intention, but
Blake, at some time, a lot of tracks at this point of the season are asking for help. Is there anything your race teams or sponsors can do to help you guys put the finishing nails in this one?
The sponsors have stepped up huge, and so have the local companies like Field Electric in Chatham. They come out this weekend. They sent their staff out there in some trucks, and they popped up and finished the poles off. And they're coming back to, like, we had a couple people today wondering why the lights were looking the way they were, how they can light up the track, and that's because they're not aimed yet. But they're planning for a really couple of good days, maybe on the weekend or next week. We get some really quiet weather. We can get out there at night, light the place up, direct all the lights, and really see what's going to go on. It's unbelievable. Even the staff, like you say, the staff is great. The drivers, the amount of drivers that are showing up on the weekend, you need a hand with this, you need a hand with that. But the sponsors have been great. They're stepping in. They're getting us materials as quickly as we can. It's awesome to see the rally behind this place now that it's coming out of the ground.
Well, Blake, we're going to continue to follow your story throughout the spring, and we'll get ready to roll. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really, really do appreciate it. It's awesome. It really is.
Take care, buddy.
Enjoy yourself, Blake. Thank you.
Adam, that wraps up another hour. It's great when we have amazing guests. The hour seems to flow by. Thanks, everybody, for joining us and watching along with us. And like I said, we have now 9 categories of chat to get into next week. So make sure you join us next Tuesday again at 8 p.m. so we can get this going. Thanks, Adam, for all you do. Thanks, Spencer, for all you do. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Anything you want to say, Adam, before we get into iRacing?
I've said enough.
Yes, you have. Good night, Thurston. See you later.